I paid $600 in cash just to avoid being humiliated by my own son, and somehow that still was not the worst part of that night. The real pain came when my daughter-in-law looked straight at my wife and said she was not worth paying for. In that moment, I realized something inside our family had been broken for years, and I had been too blind to see it. My name is Henry Dawson, but most people call me Hank. I am 71 years old, a retired firefighter who spent for decades running into burning buildings while everyone else ran out. I always believed that if you gave your life to protecting others, your own family would be there when you needed them most. That belief kept me going long after my body started failing me, and long after life started testing me in ways I never expected. My wife, Catherine, has been my entire world for almost 50 years. We built our life from nothing, raising our son Jason with every ounce of love and sacrifice we had. 16 years ago, when my brother passed away, he left us $2 million. It was meant to secure our future, but we handed every penny to Jason because we believed in him. We thought we were giving him a foundation to build a better life. What we did not realize was that we were slowly giving away our own safety. Over the years, the calls from Jason became shorter, then less frequent, and eventually almost non-existent. When we did see him, he was always distracted, glued to his phone, talking about business deals and investments that sounded impressive but never quite made sense to me. His wife, Amber, always carried herself like she was above everyone else, flashing expensive jewelry and talking about luxury vacations as if they were routine. Meanwhile, Kathy and I were quietly slipping into a life we never imagined. Kathy has been battling diabetes for years, and it has not been kind to her. The medication alone costs more than we can afford, so she started rationing it without telling me at first. By the time I found out, her health had already begun to spiral. There was a wound on her foot that refused to heal, and eventually, it became infected. She ended up in the hospital with a condition the doctors called diabetic ketoacidosis. The bill from that stay was more than $12,000, and we had no way to pay it. What Kathy did not know was that I had my own secret. A few months earlier, I had been diagnosed with stage 2 prostate cancer. The treatment plan the doctor showed me might as well have been written in another language, because all I could see were the numbers at the bottom of the page. $78,000. I folded that paper and put it away, deciding I would deal with it later, because at that moment, Kathy needed everything we had. We were 2 months behind on rent and barely holding things together. Jason invited us to dinner at a high-end restaurant, and for a brief moment, I allowed myself to feel hopeful. Maybe this was his way of reconnecting, of showing that he still cared. But something in my gut told me to prepare for the worst, so earlier that day, I went to the restaurant and handed the manager $600 in cash. It was all we had left after rent money, but I could not risk being embarrassed in front of strangers. That evening, we sat at a table surrounded by wealth that felt foreign to me. Jason ordered the most expensive steak on the menu without even looking at the price, and Amber followed with a lobster dish that cost more than our weekly groceries. Kathy barely touched her food, her hands trembling as she tried to smile through the pain. I watched my son laugh at something on his phone while his mother struggled just to sit upright, and I felt something inside me crack. Then came the moment that changed everything. When the server brought up the bill, Amber leaned back in her chair and said, very clearly, that they would not be paying for Kathy's meal. She suggested splitting the check as if we were strangers who had just met. The room seemed to go quiet, and I could see Kathy's face fall as she tried to process what she had just heard. That was the moment I realized how far we had fallen in our own son's eyes. Before I could respond, the manager stepped in and quietly explained that the bill had already been taken care of. Amber looked confused, Jason looked annoyed, and I just sat there, feeling a mix of relief and deep sadness. But something unexpected happened next. A young woman at a nearby table had recorded the entire exchange, and within hours, that video was spreading across the internet like wildfire. What followed was something I never could have imagined. People started reaching out, sharing the video, and demanding accountability. Authorities began looking into Jason's business dealings, and it did not take long for the truth to come out. His business partner had been stealing millions over the years, and Amber had been involved in fraudulent activities that went far beyond what we ever suspected. The life they had been living was built on deception, and it was finally collapsing. Jason showed up at our door a few days later, and for the first time in years, He looked like the boy I remembered. He was not dressed in expensive clothes, and there was no confidence in his voice. He sat down and told us everything, admitting his mistakes and taking responsibility for the pain he had caused. I wanted to be angry, and part of me was, but when I looked at him, I saw a broken man who had lost his way. The months that followed were not easy, but they were real. Jason sold everything he owned to help cover our medical bills and moved back in to take care of us. He went with Kathy to her doctor appointments, learned how to manage her medication, and made sure she never had to ration insulin again. He even sat with me during my treatments, refusing to let me face my illness alone. Slowly, things began to change. Kathy's health improved, her wound finally healed, and her strength started to return. My cancer went into remission after months of treatment, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we had a future again. We spent our days doing simple things, cooking meals together, sharing stories, and rebuilding the bond that had once defined our family. Looking back now, I realized that money was never the legacy we should have been focused on. We thought we were securing our son's future by giving him everything, but what he really needed was guidance, accountability, and love that did not come with conditions. Forgiveness was not easy, and it did not happen overnight, but it was the only way forward. These days, I find myself asking a simple question whenever I think about family. Are you okay? It sounds small, but it carries more weight than any amount of money ever could. Because in the end, what matters most is not what you leave behind in a bank account, but the love you choose to give while you are still here.